Stay tuned for the Joan Quinn Profiles. As an editor for Andy Warhol's Interview, the Los Angeles Herald-Examiner, LA Style, and Detour magazines, Joan covered the social set, the Hollywood hotshots, the international art scene, the mysteries of food, the excitement of travel, and the fabulous world of fashion. Joan continues to find creative people on the cutting edge who make things happen. Here's Joan Quinn.
Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and welcome to the Joan Quinn Profiles. Ready to be profiled are performer, author Laura Kindred, and actress Jaimi Paige. Boston-born and raised writer, Laura Kindred graduated from Phillips Academy, Andover, and earned a Bachelor of Fine Arts from Tisch School at the New York University. In addition to performing, she's been a copywriter and a fashion editor. What did you do as a fashion editor?
Well, I worked for Ralph Lauren for a long time.
Oh, you did, doing?
Writing and editing, so kind of really policing that brand and making sure that the advertising and the marketing was all really on point with the lifestyle. And it is kind of police work in a weird way. Is that
what you wanted to do? Did you, as a fashion editor or at Tisch School, what did you think you were going to do?
Well, I actually first studied to be an artist.
Fine artist?
Fine artist, yeah. And then I switched over to the drama school. But I had always been a writer, and it kind of just became a sort of slow ombre move into that after college. So I do still perform, as you know, mostly comedy, but writing just became what I started to do, and I learned to love it.
Well, when you started to write, you wrote fashion, obviously, and you must be really good because you can edit and copy. I mean, to do all that, it's very difficult.
Yeah, I mean, it's you got to find the right mix of creativity and OCD in my experience. So to be an editor, you have to really be detail-oriented and kind of obsessed with language and grammar. And
did you know that? Did you study English?
I did. Well, not directly, but my high school was kind of a school for nerds.
Oh, right. So, and academy, right? Like Westlake School for Girls, where I went.
Yeah, exactly. So it's really
so you're nitpicky.
Yeah, and just really obsessive about academia and things like that. So I kind of had that already built in, but I had a creative mind, and I kind of took me a while to figure out which creative direction to go in. But I think I found my niche eventually.
So after Ralph Lauren, where did you go?
I moved out here, and I continued to edit for them remotely and work with them, but then also, would freelance and help some younger companies try to find their voice and things like that. So
consulting in a way?
In a way, yeah. I mean, I was with one company for longer, kind of editing the website, but
go on. How did you get to Ralph Lauren?
It was on a lark, really. I mean, I kind of started there on a whim, thinking it was going to be a temporary gig.
But were you going to write, or were you going to be part of fashion, or were you going to be on the floor, or design, or?
I was going to. When I got to Ralph Lauren, I really dressed like a hobo, and I didn't really have any interest in a long-term career in climbing that particular ladder at all. I was doing it to kind of pay the bills and pursue my creative interests on my own time. But I did end up staying there for a long time, and I really kind of became interested in writing for a purpose. I mean, even a commercial one. It is engaging to me, but it won't ever take the place of the creative pursuit.
So the creative pursuit is putting this book together, putting a performance together.
Yeah. So this is thus far my magnum opus, which was not what I expected either. I mean, neither one of these routes were where I thought I would be. I always performed, and I started to do some more comedy, and I ended up with my co-creator Alex. We ended up coming with this idea for this comedy show that was at Upright Citizens Brigade.
Well, I was going to ask where it was. Is that where you perform?
For the most part, yeah.
So is it improv? Or
Our show isn't improv.
But were you performing improv?
Some improv, mostly sketch comedy.
I see.
So I did some sketch comedy. This was really the first thing I did there that I was in charge. And it was a really simple idea where we were just going to have primarily women.
This is the play, right? And what are we calling it?
It's called Worst Laid Plans.
Worst Laid Plans.
Yes.
LAID.
LAID.
But so you're thinking you're going to do this performance, and you're going to ask some people to.
And it was supposed to be just for fun. I mean, it was basically the idea is, let's get up there, let's write and tell in a comedic venue the story of the worst sexual experience we've had.
But it was cast. It was going to be organized.
Yes.
I mean, it was not going to be improv or sketch.
No.
It was like.
It was very carefully scripted, yeah. But we're fortunate that we know through going to Tisch and everything like that, we know.
Did Alex Lydon go to Tisch too?
She did,
oh,
yeah.
I see. Okay. Your partner, right.
The whole thing is, I mean, it's a strange backstory, but once we came up with the idea, we have great friends who are very talented comedic writers and actors.
See.
So the original cast was mostly people we went to school with.
Because I was going to ask how you cast it.
Yeah. I mean, it was mostly people we went to school with, but just coincidentally, we all were out here, and some were really working regularly in, TV and comedy and, stand-up, things like that. One of our token homosexual cast member is Matt McConkey, and he's a stand-up. He does a lot of stand-up. He's really good, and the rest were women, so we just decided to put the show together and try it out. It was really just supposed to be for fun, but then it kind of blew up.
So it was directing, producing, scripting, casting. You did the whole thing. How did you divide the chores between Alex and you?
Well, I mean, it was kind of guerrilla in the beginning.
It just goes to show you can do it, and
Yeah.
what comes out of it.
And what comes out of it, and
Yeah.
it's so funny when you're just doing something grassroots for fun. It's sort of just a simple, easy thing. But and we did direct and create, but we also, the people that were performing, they did bring their own stories to the table, and they were writers on it as well.
Did you edit those?
We gave direction, and then when we eventually got to the book, we did edit, for the book just to make sure it worked in that format. But yeah, I mean, we just kind of worked as a team.
And so you did the performance. How long did it run?
It's still running. I mean,
it is still running?
Yeah.
Do you use different people?
We do. We bring in guest performers. We usually rotate in some new people and some of the original cast.
Where is that stage?
It's at Upright Citizens Brigade.
Where is that?
It's on Franklin Avenue in Los Angeles, in
see.
Hollywood. But we've also taken it to the New York UCB to perform there a couple of times. So we've done both coasts.
But you can use people in New York that you knew, right? And just do the same production. You don't have to bring the original cast, do you?
Yeah, I mean, it's really modular. That's
what I wondered,
which is great. I mean, I gotta say, for my part, maybe this is loyalty, I love the original cast most of all.
And were you in it?
I was. I'm not. Love myself.
You were in it. Alex was in it.
I was in it. Alex was in it. Erin Pineda, who's a talented actress who's out here. Timberly Hill, who's actually a classically trained actress, but just wild on stage and do the comedy. And Casey Wilson, who was on Saturday Night Live for a while, and June Raphael, who's an actress as well.
So talk about once you've finished. Or you haven't finished. It's still ongoing.
It's still ongoing.
How did you put it, boing, in this? And how did you decide, boing, who should be in it?
Well, it was really the idea was always there that it made sense as a franchise, and it could be a book, it could be TV, it could be theater, it could be whatever.
Were you thinking about that at the time?
I mean, not in the earliest stages, but once it started doing well, we were like,
then you thought, we could do this.
It would make sense. It's an easy translation. But
so Worst Laid Plans, when bad sex happens to good people. So you're all good, you guys.
Well, take that with a grain of salt. I mean, for the most part, everyone's intentions are good.
That's it.
But it's really not. I mean, it's not. It's really at face value. I mean, the stories are for the most part pretty. It's not a feminist piece. It's not someone did something to me. It's really just I got myself into a bad situation, and I was too dumb to get myself out of it.
I think one of the stories that I read, prostitute at 16. She says, I was a prostitute at 16.
Yes, that's Beth Littleford. She used to be on The Daily Show, and she wrote a story called Cuddle Whore about how she traded cuddling for oral
So that's why she says I was a prostitute at 16.
Yes, she said
Talk about the sad stories. Let's hear. Some of the stories are sad.
There are a couple in particular that I think are really kind of poignant. One of my favorites was written by the woman named Jennifer Hirschlag, she's a big fashion editor in New York. And I've known her for a long time, and I knew her during the period in time when her story takes place, and it's about how she was transitioning from being engaged to being suddenly single unexpectedly, and poured all of her affections into her dog. And her story is called Sleeps with Dogs. and she ended up, over time, the longer she was single, sort of taking up these short-term paramours that she didn't really care for.
So that was sad.
Well, what was sad was, later in the story, it's kind of her relationship breaks up at the same time as her beloved dog falls very ill.
I see.
And ends up having to be put down. And the sort of parallel between that experience and how that was so much more profound than this trivial romance that she was having at the same time.
How many contributors?
God, I think it's 37.
And how did they turn in their copy? What form?
We had a lot of people who had done the show with us that we thought had really strong stories that we reached out to directly, and people we knew who were writers that we reached out to directly, but then we also had kind of an open submission call.
And were they all real names, or did they use anonymous names?
Most of them are real names. There are a few stories that are pseudonymed because either just because the person was uncomfortable or because they wanted to protect the other participant in the story, as it were.
Did you tell them how many words they could use?
We basically gave a vague range. So we kind of said, try to keep it to 2 to 4 pages. Some of them are more like 6 or 7. It was case by case. And
then, so it's divided. I love the way it's divided, actually, with these black pages.
Yes.
That say, so you have a sad story, happy stories, and sexy stories. Did any men write?
Yeah, about 30% of the stories are written by men.
Oh, they are?
Yeah.
So they were in the play too?
We have had, it's been by and large women, but we have had, on occasion, we've brought men up on stage, and it's worked well.
So is there anything about anybody's secret desires?
Well, there are a couple of fetish stories in there, although they're fetishes that don't work out for the person, so it doesn't really play out the way it's like. There's a foot fetish story, and there's a story about a fellow that goes to see a professional dominatrix.
Oh, I read that one.
And he's not satisfied by the service, but
no, isn't that funny?
He ends up storming.
Do you think they're real stories, or are they fiction?
I think we've gotten to the point where we can sniff out a fiction.
Oh, you can?
I think so. Well, a lot of the stories that were submitted to us were clearly, I mean, it read at Penthouse Forum. Like someone had written in something that was clearly it was erotica, basically. It wasn't, you can tell because the details are so strange when it really happens.
Oh, is that right? That's
yeah.
how you can tell the difference?
Yeah. And, we did change certain details like names and places to some degree just to protect people who weren't the actual writers who might have figured into the stories and stuff. But for the most part, I mean, they're true to life.
Someone like Lorraine Newman, who was on Saturday Night Live for so long and who you had some readings at Fred Siegel, and I'm sure you read all around in book signings. Is her story true? Do they tell true stories?
Her story is true, yeah. She wrote our foreword as well. She has a pretty amazing story. She likes to refer to it as one of the cleaner stories, and there really is a range. I mean,
I was going to ask you, yeah. Did they give you 2 or 3 stories, one cleaner or dirtier than the other?
No, I mean, it's just like you get what you get, but
you get one story.
You get one story, but the way people write is so distinct, which is what I like about it. So, Lorraine's story is told, if possible, a little more delicately. Even though it's a crazy experience, the way she tells it is there's a maturity and a grace to it in a way, whereas some of the stories are really, make no bones, I mean, there's uncensored and not shy at all about any gross out factors, things like that.
Any gross out factors, I know. Lots of gross out factors.
They're in there.
But not so much on the sexual point of view, more just gross.
Yeah, I mean, it runs the gamut. I mean, some of them involve physical injury, some of them involve, bodily functions, but But, you know, and some of them are honestly very, very sweet.
Well, you've been great. I think this was a wonderful idea.
Thank
I
you.
thank you so much for bringing it to us. And we hope to talk to your partner sometime, Alex.
Yes, thank you so much for having me.
Don't go away, because we'll be right back with Jaimi Paige, who is a beautiful actress. Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and welcome back to the Joan Quinn Profiles. I'm here with actress Jaimi Paige, who was born and raised in central Minnesota. She graduated with an AA from Central Lakes Community College, then went on to the University of Minnesota. She has been a member of the Reskin Theater Group for not very long. Is that right, Jaimi?
Yeah, it's coming up on a year now.
Oh, it isn't very long.
So.
When you came to Los Angeles in 2006, did you come to do theater or film?
You know, when I came in 2006, I was actually chasing a boy, and so
oh, that's the answer.
I wanted to do both, but I ended up nannying and doing crazy things, not really acting at all. And then I went back to Minnesota briefly.
When you were at the University of Minnesota, were you in the theater department?
I was. I went to the University I transferred in as a junior, and it ended up just not being my thing, so I didn't stay very long.
Why? Why wasn't it?
I guess you could blame it on my social awkwardness, maybe, but I guess I didn't mesh well when I got there, and all of the students had been there from freshman together, and then you come in as a junior.
In the theater department?
In the theater department, yeah. I think it was more of a social thing than anything. The program's really good there, but
you just didn't like it.
It wasn't
didn't
my
work.
thing.
Then did you think, well, I'm not going to be an actress then?
No, I always was going to be an actress.
That didn't have anything to do with it?
No, not at all. I just started auditioning outside of the program, and I started working in theaters.
There?
And in Minneapolis. And so I was like, all right, well, I guess I'll get my training here then.
So you worked in Minneapolis, which has, it's a great theater town.
It's fantastic. It's got a lot of theater.
A lot.
Yeah.
And it's great.
It's really good.
So you have a good background working there.
Yeah, I worked there for about 7 years before I came out here.
Oh, so you didn't come out here like going, oh, what am I going to do? Where am I going to go? Because Minneapolis is a wonderful training ground.
Oh, absolutely.
So then, did you have to audition to get into the Reskin group?
I did. I actually auditioned
did?
When I first moved out here, officially in 2008, the end of 2008. I went in for a general audition, and then I actually didn't become a part of the company until about 6 months later, when the stars aligned.
And then, when you actually moved out here, were you taking workshops? Were you taking classes? How'd you find an agent?
I actually just signed with an agent through Reskin. I did a production there of The Collector.
Tell us about that, because we had Edward Edwards on the show.
Oh, yeah.
He's so handsome and fantastic.
He's amazing. He's such an intuitive director.
Isn't he great?
He's fantastic.
So tell us about that.
Well, he directed me in a production of The Collector, which was a film in the 60s with Terrence Stamp and Samantha Eggar. And so it was a 2-person play, and it's a modernized version. And he directed that, and we were only going to run it for 4 weeks, and it ended up running for almost 5 months.
It just kept going on.
It just kept going.
And he said Samantha came to see it. Did you
meet
her?
I did. She was so sweet. She brought flowers. And she is just such a beautiful woman and just has this amazing presence. It was really neat to have her come.
Did you see the film before you acted?
I didn't.
And that's what he said is better, so that you have your own interpretation.
Yeah, so you're not trying to recreate something, so it can really be your own.
And it was a modern version. So how were the words for you to say? Was it?
Well, it was a British play, and so
I know, but was it in English, American English?
Yeah.
So you didn't have to do it with an English accent?
Oh no, we did. We did it.
Oh, you did do it with an English accent?
We did it with an English accent. Yeah.
Well, how did you learn your accent?
I guess that's something that I've just had in my toolbox. Is the British accent?
Could you pull it out now? I mean, what were some of the lines?
Oh goodness. She was, I was just tortured through the whole thing. So a lot of the lines, I was crying through most of the play.
Is that right? And
Yeah.
how do you make yourself cry?
Oh, I guess it just happened. Dane Zinter was acting opposite me, and he's just amazing, and he was terrifying. So he scared me. It was just very real.
Is that right?
Yeah, it just came really naturally for this production.
And so even when something comes naturally like that and you're using a different accent, that comes out as well?
Yeah.
I mean, it just works like that's your character?
Yeah. Yeah, you just kind of let it take over you. I've done roles where I've used a British dialect before, so it wasn't really a brand new thing for me.
Since when you are part of a group like this, the Reskin Theater group, do they do workshops? Do they do things where you would be honing your skills as an actress?
I take classes there, actually.
Oh, they do?
I'm about halfway through the first year of their 2-year program right now.
Oh, so they do that. Do they do classes in everything or just acting?
It's just acting. It's the Meisner. John Ruskin trained under Sanford Meisner at the Neighborhood Playhouse, and then he taught with Sanford Meisner. And then when he moved out here, he started his schooling company. So
are you on stage a lot? Is that what your thing is?
Yeah.
Stage rather than film?
Well, that's what my background is in. I started in theater, but I do a fair amount of both now, which is fun.
Did you do commercials?
I did a lot of commercials in Minnesota. Yeah.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Oh, tell me what kind?
Oh, I did commercials for phone companies, and there's a lot of industrial work in Minnesota. Target and Best Buy both have their headquarters there, as well as I also did for Post-it notes. I actually did a website for them.
There's a big thing in Minnesota, isn't there? In Minneapolis,
so, yeah,
I remember seeing that.
They've got a lot of their headquarters out there.
And did you go to the? I just lost the name of the Guthrie. No, that Guthrie's in.
No, the Guthrie's in Minneapolis.
The Guthrie.
Yeah.
The new Guthrie.
Yeah, I've never worked there, but I've been going to the Guthrie since I was young. So.
Yeah. So that's where they bring all different kinds of theater to the public, right? Can you sing and dance?
Not very well. I can do a character singing, but it's not my forte.
So the new play you're doing is Jessie Boy, and tell us about that. Tell us the story first, and then it's written by who? Robert
Mollahan is the writer, and he also stars in the show opposite me. He plays my boyfriend.
Oh, he does. He wrote it, and I see. So is he Jessie Boy?
He is not. He's Jessie. Jessie Boy is my younger brother. And Jessie Boy is autistic, and I play Abigail, and Robert plays the character of Richie, which is my boyfriend, who we live with in his trailer, and he's obsessed with Elvis, and he's an Elvis impersonator. And so the story is that he ends up going to Vegas to do this Elvis showcase, the contest for all these Elvis impersonators, and it's a tough play. It faces a lot of abuse issues and
drinking,
it's a lot of hard stuff. Alcohol, yeah. There's a lot of it's a dark show, but it's also got a lot of dark humor in it, and it's just beautifully written.
Has he written before, Robert?
He has. He actually just produced. I think he just produced a short film that he wrote.
And the director is Karen Landry, who's an actress too.
She is.
Is she in it?
She's not in it, but her husband, Chris Mulkey, is.
So, and how does she? What kind of style of directing does she do? And is it like other directors you've worked with?
You know, every director is a little bit different. Karen has such a unique. She's just got this unique talent of seeing things. Her vision is just really excellent. She has this way of making a scene work. I remember there's one scene where my best friend Mary Lou and I have this huge confrontation, and it just wasn't working. Partly
why doesn't it work? Tell me. That's a very interesting thing for you to talk about.
Well, part of it is because just size. I'm very tall, and Mary Lou is very short, and so just our statures I tend to overpower her with stature. With our height.
So that would make something not work completely for the audience.
Yeah, and just our vocal energy, just almost really everything. Just it wasn't working, and And one day Karen was just like, why don't we try it like this? And she had this whole new take that you maybe wouldn't have thought of just workshopping it. And it just made the scene really work for all of us. And
Like, does she make you sit? Or
yeah, just try it a new way, and I want you to sit here. She just has a really neat way of really getting into each of the characters, and
she doesn't change the dialogue.
No,
the dialogue remains. It's
the dialogue's
like
the same. Yeah, just blocking and intention and where we're coming from.
So I wonder how a director can do that, and like, what do? They make you look a different way? Do they make you turn?
Sitting
in
versus
certain words?
standing,
Yeah.
and just. I guess it's hard to put into words, and I guess that's why she's a great director.
How professional is that relationship? You said Chris Mulkey is in it, and he's married to Karen, and she has to direct him.
Yeah.
So how professional does that? How do they keep that?
It was really fun to watch that, actually, because I knew both of them because they both teach also at the school.
Oh, they do.
And so I've seen both of them, and I knew both of their work, and so to find out that they were going to be working together was
Yeah.
It was really interesting. You can tell that they've been doing it for so long. They've been working together on projects
Acting together
for
or
so long.
Different
Writing and I mean they do all kinds. They do everything.
Oh,
they do it all.
all different things together. Oh,
Yeah.
I see.
So they have a really neat language between the two of them that they use that works well.
So it was professional. Does the stage help you being from the transferring?
Yeah,
From
it does.
being a stage actress to being a film actress?
It does, yeah. I mean, I think my theater and background definitely set the grounds for me to move into film and TV. It's definitely a different style and it's a different
That's what
medium
I wondered, yeah.
entirely. So it's very different, but I think that at the basis it's the same. You're just telling a story.
Well, tell us where Jessie Boy is playing.
Jessie Boy's playing at the Reskin Theater at Santa Monica Airport.
Which is great. It's that great building, lots of parking,
Yeah.
easy to get to.
Free parking.
I know.
Really easy to get to.
And do you take your classes there too?
I do, yeah.
Oh, that's a great place. Well, I thank you so much for coming, Jaimi.
Thank you.
And thanks for watching the Joan Quinn Profiles. Email me at JAQUINN1, the numeral 1, at AOL.com. And we'll see you next time on the Joan Quinn Profiles.